Welcome, everybody, to the Force of Flow. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about some statistics and research that I've been doing in Germany in various newspapers and online, and just try and get a feel for the current situation in the country that I love and I live. So, we all know that there are certain advantages to a diverse workspace and a workforce. And as of 2021, at least in the US, this is Forbes list, 41 out of 500 CEOs were women. That's only 8%. The demand for workers with more human skills has gone up. We're talking about people with empathy, awareness, and communication. And the more diverse teams you have, the more creative and innovative your teams are. That's what studies show. So, going a little bit more in depth with regards to Germany, in 2021, there was a brochure published called Women and Men in Germany by the Federal Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women, and Youth. And this was about gender equality in Germany. So let me throw out a couple of numbers for you: 36, 10, 31, 32, 16. What the heck are those numbers, you might be asking? Good question. Let me clarify for you. 36% of women founding businesses Germany-wide. 10 is for the share of women on German executive boards since 2020. 10%. 31% of female students in STEM subjects. And when I talk about STEM, that stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. 32% of women on German supervisory boards. And last but not least, 16% of women in tech. Now, the government in 2021 came out with a strategy. Gleichstellungsstrategie, or equality strategy, also coming from the Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women, and Youth. And there it states that they would conduct yearly checks about the development of women to men ratio and management levels. And the goal was, and is, to have an even ratio. Question is, what steps are being taken to increase this percentage of women in leadership roles? Under the law, large companies with 2,000 or more employees and at least 3 board positions will and should appoint at least one woman. 70 companies affected have 31 female board members. It includes provisions for another 90 companies where the government has a large share of this. And it's interesting that the public service companies affect 155 entities. Now, the BDI, or Bundesverband der Deutschen Industrie, has a fixed quota, and it's a special challenge for the economy and an intervention into the business freedom. Now, that's a pretty hefty statement, and this is being said by Iris Plüger, the BDI executive board member, because she goes on to say that this isn't just something that can be solved through economy and business. It's a societal problem. And I completely agree. It can't be tackled from just one direction. We need to tackle this from all sides. What do you think? So, if passed, Germany will be one of the few countries in Europe with mandates on gender for company boards. I find that quite fascinating, considering that the statistics of our neighboring countries like France and England, they've already reached quotas that far exceed ours. France, for example, have 40% of women on boards. 33% of women on boards is being represented in England. So, under the new law, companies who fall short of this have to justify and prevent this from happening and present a report explaining why they haven't reached this quota, this goal. So these companies don't just set targets for diversity, but they're being sanctioned in the future. So they're being held accountable, which is great. At least that's what it appears to be in my mind. So why is Germany so far behind? According to Women and Men in Germany, published by the Federal Ministry of Family Affairs and Senior Citizens, Women and Youth, the findings show that at least in the private sector, the bigger the company, the fewer number of women working in top management positions. And in the public sector, it's just reversed. There are more and more women in executive roles. Miss Schulz-Strelo, she's the founder of Frauen in Aufsichtsrate, or Women in Board Positions, who is also one of the 100 most influential women economists in Germany, says this could get very expensive for companies. And they should think twice about not following the recommended path forward. Again, I'm baffled by the one question of how is it possible that there are countries surrounding Germany that appear to be more in touch with today and are able to have more of equal representation, so more gender equality than Germany, one of the strongest economies in the world, if not the strongest in Europe, who's supposed to be some sort of a role model. I wonder why it is taking us so long to catch up. What are the factors leading to this difference? What do you all think? Before we conclude today's session, I'd also like to throw in a statement of mine. I'm not here to bash men or look at men as the other or look at them as something bad. On the contrary, my objective is to find equality between the sexes because men and women together are a force to be reckoned with, and every person, be it a man and a woman, brings certain strengths to the table, and a combined effort. Can you imagine what's possible? So in no certain terms am I saying that one is better than the other. And I would like to get us to the point where we can recognize this, and that this isn't a topic, and that it isn't about are we addressing women or are we neglecting men or vice versa. So I wonder how long it will take us to get to that point. But until we do, I just find the facts very fascinating, and it was an eye-opener for me. As I stated, my awakening came late, but ever since my awakening, I have been bombarded with information. And I must say, I had a sad moment yesterday, so I was most likely in energy level 3, where it is all about my feeling of forgiveness, and a little bit of level 2 because I was sad also and disappointed that I had finished, and I know this is perhaps superficial, I finished the series Madam Secretary with Tia Leone, and it was so inspiring for me because things that had happened in the past regarding gender equality, women's topics, finally rose to the surface and started meaning something to me. The idea that a Madam Secretary, Secretary of State, can rise and be such a force for good, an inspiration to millions of girls and women, and go on to become Madam President. She mentioned in one episode a sentence that stayed with me because they were scrutinizing her presidency and dissecting every decision she made by trying to slander her character. And during this process, she came up and talked to her husband and said, will the world ever be ready for a woman president? They're just not ready for me, are they? Have we gotten past that point today? Are we still in there? Where are we? Are we at the beginning of this journey? Are we in the middle? I'd love to hear your feedback. Have you guys got stories where this resonates? Please send me comments. Love to hear from you. Until the next time, and may the force of flow be with you.